Currently in New York City, there are over 14,000 registered real estate agents with the Real Estate Board of New York. And that doesn't include the 7,000 plus, who knows how many other agents that are out there that are not with the Real Estate Board of New York. So you have over 21,000 or more agents that you have to potentially choose from. How do you make the choice? In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how you can identify and connect with an awesome buyer's agent when looking for a property in New York City. And make sure you stick through all the way to the end, because I'm going to be giving you awesome questions as well as pitfalls to avoid when working and interviewing buyer's agents so that you can feel confident throughout your decision-making process when looking to purchase your next home or investment. So you understand the value behind working with a buyer's agent, and you've spoken to a couple, but how do you know if they are the one that's going to help you get the job done? And maybe you're even one step before that, how do you even find one in the first place? One of the things that you can definitely do here is ask your friends. It's really important that if your friends had an awesome and amazing experience with a particular agent, that it'll most likely be the same for you when you reach out to that same agent, that they will be able to deliver an awesome and amazing experience for you in the purchase of your next home or investment. Now, the one thing that you're going to look out for here is the fact that every single person's transaction is different. The agent might have been an amazing townhouse expert that was able to help your friend purchase the townhouse that they are currently living in. However, if you're going to be looking at co-ops, you might want to just check and see what their experience is around that, and I'll get more into that later. Another awesome resource for you in locating an awesome buyer's agent is to ask an awesome listing agent. Now, some listing agents are part of very large teams where they can actually allocate someone on their behalf to hit the ground running with you and go tour and seeing places. Essentially, that is their job as the buyer's agent of that particular team. Some listing agents will be able to take you out themselves. Just be careful here not to ask them anything about their listings that they're showing for their clients, because they are contractually obligated to ensure that they are working for the best price and the best terms for their seller. So they can only be able to give you so much information in detail when it comes to their own listings. Another great place to find an awesome real estate agent is the internet. Pretty vague the way I've put it right there, but the reason for me saying it this way is because you're going to want to search through agent pages, social media feeds, as well as even agent websites to see what is the agent currently working on. Occasionally, you'll run across an agent who might have a pretty robust agent listing page. Unless you go and check and verify all of those transactions, you may or may not be able to determine the fact that some of those transactions were done years ago. So by verifying their social media pages, seeing what sort of videos they're posting to their audiences, you can really get a sense for exactly what's going on in that agent's world, and how, if you were to engage them in being the agent that's working on your behalf, listening to some of the information, how they speak, and really getting a sense for what is it like to do business with them before actually even meeting them in person. Take a look at some of the reviews that they have. Checking out an agent's Zillow page, their Yelp page, their Google page, any sort of review website that shares with you and gives you a little bit of insight on some of the past interactions that previous people have had with them will help you be able to better make a decision on whether or not this is the right agent for you. All right, you've found a couple of agents, and now it's time for the best part, which is
the interview process.
Getting along with your agent and being able to communicate back and forth with them is going to be super important when you have a buyer's agent working on your behalf. As I've identified in a previous video, a great buyer's agent is someone who's going to be able to identify and locate a property for you, negotiate the best price on your behalf, negotiate the best terms on your behalf, all while overseeing the transactional details throughout the sale process. But on top of this, communication is a key aspect of ensuring that you're working with a professional who's going to get the job done for you. But let's just take this one step further, because there are a lot of parties that need to be coordinated with, and you want to ensure you have someone who isn't going to take information here and play a game of telephone all the way over here to misconstrue or miscommunicate some of the details. You're going to also want to make sure that the information being delivered from the seller is being communicated clearly and succinctly to you as the buyer, to ensure you understand what they're looking for in the perfect buyer, to ensure that you're getting an awesome awesome agent to communicate back and forth on your behalf, you're going to want to ask a question like, how can I expect for you to communicate important details about the transaction throughout the process? If an agent came back to you and answered that question with another question like, how would you like to be communicated to when it comes to the transaction or the deal? In that case, you're not working with a professional, or at least not someone who cares enough as a professional to have a specific answer to this particular question. A great buyer's agent is going to have an action plan set in place so that you can feel confident that every step of the way, you're staying informed about what's going on with probably one of the biggest transactions of your entire life. While your preferred method of communication is very important, some information is better conveyed in a call or even an in-person meeting, and then of course followed up in writing via email. The follow-up questions that the agent asks you around your preferred method of communication ensure that you're working with a professional. Now, the next thing that's pretty natural to wonder about when you're working with a buyer's agent is how they are getting compensated. Traditionally in real estate transactions, a buyer's agent in the past been compensated from an agreement that is established from the seller and the listing agent about how they are paying out from the proceeds of the sale. But according to recent changes and some litigation that is coming up that I will talk about in a separate video, this is going to be something that is not always agreed upon by the seller in the very beginning, in which case you're going to want to ask the question, how am I compensating you as a buyer's agent for working on my behalf? If the buyer's agent leaves you with an unfulfilling answer like that can always be negotiated later down the line, chances are you're going to want to turn and run in the opposite direction. I feel pretty strongly about this. If an agent is willing to say something to you up front like, my commission is negotiable, how do you know as a buyer or a seller that they're going to be able to negotiate for you like a pit bull on your behalf when it comes to ensuring that you're getting the most amount from your home or the biggest discount possible? Instead, a buyer's agent or a seller's agent who knows exactly what their worth and their value is to their client is going to be firm on where they stand with their compensation and give you a very straightforward statement about where they stand in their value to you as an agent. Another few aspects that you'll want to focus on when interviewing agents is their familiarity with neighborhoods, buildings, and overall the transaction process. I'm so happy that you were able to watch as much of this video as you've watched up until this point, and because of such, I do have to ask you if you could please like this video and share it with one other person that you think might find this information helpful, and subscribe for even more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much, and back to the video. The next few questions I give you are great because they are questions that can be answered with the information that usually comes from their agent website, and you'll be able to tell very quickly if they're lying, if some of the details and information don't match up. The first question you'll want to ask is, how familiar are you with the neighborhood of X? If an agent can't tell you anything about a particular neighborhood, you should probably end the conversation right then and there. However, I don't want you to get stuck on this question. Just because an agent hasn't done a transaction in a particular location or neighborhood doesn't necessarily mean that they are completely ignorant to everything that's going on in that neighborhood in general. If they're honest with you, they'll say something along the lines of, you know what, I haven't actually done a transaction in Red Hook before, but I know that me and my girlfriend have actually visited there quite a few times because we like to see the Statue of Liberty over there when we're heading over by the water. We like to go to the IKEA that's over there pretty frequently, and there's a pretty cool winery over there that we've been meaning to take a look at, and we would love to check it out with you sometime. Hearing about how boots on the ground your agent is in a particular or given neighborhood is going to help you as a buyer determine whether or not they're going to be a good resource for you in purchasing of a home in that particular area. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they cannot help you altogether, as I am always looking to explore and expand my familiarity with what's going on here in New York City. A great buyer's agent is going to explore those neighborhoods with you, pointing out points of interest, ensuring that you have a great understanding of the new neighborhood that you're going to be moving into. Now, if you hear something along the lines of, you know, it's all the same no matter where you go for the transaction, I would argue that you're not going to want to work with that person, because that's when you'll have the biggest challenges for that agent's contribution towards getting the purchase done for you in that particular area. Now, the next question that I would ask that can also be verified on the agent's page is, what is your familiarity with doing a quote condo, co-op, or townhouse purchase, or condo purchase, or sale of a retail space, or any other purchase for that matter? What is your familiarity with this type of purchase in New York City? With this question, you're going to want to be as specific as possible with the type of transaction you plan on doing. The answer will give you an understanding of how well your agent that you're working with can articulate the differences between a condo, a co-op, a townhouse, the processes, the down payment you're going to want to make on it. Those details that are going to be integral to understanding what your expectations are for your transaction. A great agent might outline the differences for all the different types of transactions for you right then and there on the spot. They might even tell you something super helpful that you didn't know. Like, for example, when you purchase in a co-op, you're actually considered a tenant with a stock and lease for your shares of the building. And so it is not considered real property in that sense, which could have certain tax implications on your purchase going forward. And of course, you should consult a real estate attorney or tax advisor when discussing your purchasing opportunities. And if they can't tell you any of the differences between the different types of transactions, you are going to want to run in the opposite direction as far as you can, because that agent will definitely not be able to help you close a deal in New York City. These are just a few questions that you can ask a buyer's agent to really get an understanding of how much they're able to help you, or if they're even able to help you at all with your transaction of your next home or investment here in New York City. In the best case scenario, these agents will actually work with you upfront before they even begin the process for you to have this conversation. And while it may not feel like an interview for them, because they're providing a free consultation to really get an understanding for what your needs are, for you, it should be treated as much of an interview with you as the employer employing a potential real estate agent as your buyer's agent. If a buyer's agent is not taking the time out to sit down with you and really understand what your needs are as a buyer, and they are just taking you out to the listings from the very beginning, that's actually doing you a disservice, because not only are they potentially taking you to a listing that may not even work for your needs, but they may end up wasting some time with you or not giving you the details that you need to help shorten your process, but also help you save as much money for your transaction as possible. With the introduction of programs like Zillow's Premier Agent or the Street Easy Experts program, a lot of times buyers who aren't even familiar with the process at all are reaching out to listings online as if they are renters, and being connected with buyer's agents who they may not even know are buyer's agents from the very beginning, and essentially jumping into this process without having any sort of understanding or conversation or interview that's going to help you get ahead as a buyer, that will put them in the best position to win and secure the property of their choice. And I do feel even more strongly about this, considering the fact that the way that listing agents are and may not be compensating buyer's agents in the future might be changing. So if you wanted to see or learn more about that, I will be making a future video here about that topic. And if you've watched all the way to the end here, I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching Easy NYC Real Estate, where I make New York City real estate easy for you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.